hello, welcome back, or welcome to the Waterski podcast. My name is Matteo, your host, and the goal of this podcast, despite being out for 4 months, remains the same, promoting the sport of water skiing. So a lot has happened in the last 4 months on a personal level, all good things, luckily. Making a long story very short, I was able to partake at a few more tournaments than usual, and we have been super busy at Jolly Ski, so didn't have a whole lot of time to organize interviews and meet up with friends and get some interviews going. Well, luckily, I am in Florida right now, and I'll be participating at the World Championships in a few days. And I had a chance to sit down with a great friend of mine, someone the Waterski podcast listenership has already heard of, is Vincent Stadlbaur. So as I was waiting to see, really opportunity to decide who to interview again, obviously being in Florida, there's a lot of options of people that I could have chosen, but I couldn't think of a more meaningful interview to kick things back up than to interview the guy representing the crew of the Waterski Broadcasting Company, who has been allowing us throughout these months to watch a lot of events. And because as the national team of Italy were staying nearby Vino's house, I basically crashed in, asked him if I could borrow some gear, and here we are recording this episode. This is really a good update on what has been going on in the TWBC up until the World Championships, which they will broadcast, and that will happen next week at Jack Travers. A lot of hype about the event, a lot of interesting stories that I'm sure all the waterski fans have been following throughout the tour and interviews. But I really wanted to get a word from the person and the crew behind the broadcast service that will allow us to watch it all. So without any further ado, sit back and enjoy my latest interview with Vincent Stadlbaur. All right, Vino, welcome back to the Waterski podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot for having me, Matteo. Thanks for setting it up right before the Worlds. It's nice to get a chance to sit down and think about what happened instead of just being rushed about getting through the event. Now it's going to be the first time we're going to actually sit down and think about what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's give a bit of context. Obviously, this is going to come out very soon from the time that we record, but it's a few days, 4 days before the World Championships, the Open World Championships at Jack Travers Ski School, and you're broadcasting that.
Yeah, we're very excited to be broadcasting. It's going to be the first time I ever broadcast the Worlds. Tony did on his own in 2013, but as a new TWBC, it's the biggest tournament we're ever going to webcast, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot has changed since Tony broadcasted the 2013 Worlds, and quite frankly, a lot changed since we spoke last in front of microphones. Because I believe we spoke around May, so context was obviously in the midst/end of the first wave of COVID. I had a chance to talk to you and then to talk to you, John, and Tony about the Waterski Broadcasting Company. A lot has happened since then, right? Not only around the world, but especially with TWBC. And obviously, I'm super curious to hear your tale.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it has changed. Luckily, in all positives. First of all, we never webcasted so many tournaments. The year of 2021 is the most tournament we're ever going to webcast. I believe we're going to be at 11 at the end. And the most we ever webcasted before that was 2019. We webcasted 6 of them. And then 2020, we webcast 6 of them. And actually kind of almost back to back because it was towards the end of the season and the few tournaments that happened because of COVID. So this year it's really a full season, which is obviously very, very nice, and was a bit the perfect timing for it to be the standard it is right now, meaning that we added a lot of gear. We have bigger crews. Now we have a trailer. And it really arrived at the perfect timing, because we would have never been able to go through this season the way we were running things before, basically. Now we're a bit more professional, a bit more organized. We have better gear. We have the trailer that helps tremendously. And so it really arrived at the best timing. And now, obviously, World's going to be kind of a big tournament, luckily, towards the end of the season. So literally, I mean, we're just going to try to repeat what we've been doing.
Okay. Now, again, I want you to give a few details. So think back of, say, end of 2019, because I believe early 2020 you didn't broadcast any tournament, correct? Because we have COVID, right? No. So think where TWBC was at the end of 2019 in terms of crew, gear, shots, and think what it is now. What are some of the differences? What are some of the upgrades that you implemented?
So first of all, the biggest upgrade we ever did, and I mean we knew it from the beginning, it's just hard to get, is the crew. Now we're a much bigger crew. We always had a good crew. I mean Tony's a great crew member. I believe I'm a great crew member. We have John, obviously, he's a great crew member. So we always had a good crew, but we always had a small crew. And now, a bit tournament after tournament, and just getting a bit more known and people watching a bit more my webcast, we actually had quite a lot of people approaching to be part of it. Now we have a guy named Jeremy. He's going to help us at the World. He's been watching all my webcasts, came at Swiss to ski and said, can I help? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Yeah. We'll take you.
So that's how it came about, huh?
Yeah, a lot of
people just reaching out and saying,
a lot of people reaching out. Obviously, friends from Full Sail University, the film school I went to, that's always been sticking around from the beginning, but just kept coming back. So a bit of everything. We're delivering also a better product now. So also the crew member, I believe, is a bit more interested to be part of it.
Right.
So it's the crew is the biggest improvement that happened, because I mean we really moved from a 3-person crew to now, depending on the event, we're between 10 to 12 to 9. So it tripled basically.
Wow.
And I mean, the only thing slowing us down still now is the crew. If we would be a 30-person crew, we would be able to do 3 times more. The crew is really something that's the most important, because without this, nothing happens. There is a lot of stuff that I would like to do, and I'm not really able to do it because we're still short staff. But that was one of the improvement and the biggest improvement. And then on the second biggest one is the trailer. We got a production trailer, 20 foot long, kind of literally, if you want to put it bluntly, a mobile office, insulated, power, AC,
fridge,
cabinets, fridge,
and, cup holders,
and obviously full of cables and full of screen, and we're from inside. So obviously this helps tremendously for setup and for wrap. We save about 4 to 5 hours on the setup, 4 to 5 hours on the wrap, because everything just stays in the trailer. It makes it way easier to work. We work in AC. If it rains, all the crew comes inside the trailer. We're dry. At night, you can just close the door, lock it, and make sure that your computer stays safe. So obviously that's been a big improvement, and that's been saving us a lot of time on the setup and the wrap, because when you do so many events, I mean, this year we do 10 to 11 events. Every event it's a life on its own, I mean, right. to all the behind the scene that happens even before we hit the ground, then when we hit the ground, we're really the first one in and the last one out. So us, an event is not a 1 day, it's a 1 day event, is a 4-day event. And what the Worlds is going to be a 6-day event, which was going to be like we're already here. It's going to be, a 12-day event almost.
Yeah, because the trailer is already at Jack's.
Yeah, the trailer is already at Jack's. Setup has already started. The wrap's going to take us a day. So, I mean, to have a bit of a now, really with the trailer, we have a bit of a base that makes it a bit more convenient. Yeah. And obviously, we improved it. We try to improve always. And I mean, the improvements, we always a bit knew what needed to be improved, but it's very hard to know how you're going to get to it. I mean, us, it's very gear oriented, so you got to really learn it. But I believe we're getting better and better at learning it. We're getting better with graphics. I'm trying to push the graphics as much as possible. Because the nice thing is a camera. I mean, you come up with a new camera angle. It's going to be complicated to set up. It's going to take time. Someone's going to have to operate it. It's going to be costly. A graphic, you work on it at home, and suddenly you get to the event, and when you're rushed and there's 10,000 things, you just press on the button and there's the super cool thing coming out. Right, so it's right. Kind of a savior, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see. And I guess you said something really cool about like a lot of it is about gear. Right now, I remember a year and a half ago now when I spoke to you guys, there was still that element of, how can I say, like ski showing related element of like angles. I remember talking to John about like what angles would you like to show and stuff like that. And I know you've added some specific new angles, but is it more just technical now, or is it still like, how can I show this? How can I show that?
Definitely. I mean, it's a bit of both. You come up with a great angle, but then it's going to be only technical stuff to be able to get to it. For example, I mean, the artistic part is, yes, I want a shot inside the buoy, and then it's like 3 months of almost rocket science to try to figure it out how we're going to do it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, what we do is, 300% technical.
Yeah.
300% technical. And that's what I said, we're actually getting better at it. We understand the computer we understand how the computers react, which allow us to get a bit more graphics, a bit more cameras into the computer, more audio into the computer. I believe we try to improve as much as possible, which is the hardest thing on audio. Try to have a bit more ambient mics and to try to have all the levels a bit at the same time, that when you switch to Doc and you switch back to Tony, you don't have to turn your volume up.
Well, that's
down,
a new thing, right? So like dockside cam, dockside cam you already had, but dockside interview.
We have what we call it the floating camera, because it really floats around. You can go wherever you want, and that's new. It's just a guy walking around with a gimbal, which is a stabilized system to keep the camera smooth. And him and the announcers walk wherever the skiers are, does dockside interview. Sometimes the camera is just moving on its own and recording skiers being warmed up. And that's the coolest camera, if you want my opinion, because that's really, you get into the skier zone before he gets ready.
Yeah.
You get into the skier zone on the dock. That's, for me, the best shots we get are coming from the camera.
Well, I mean, just a little snippet of that when we were in Malibu last week, that I was like sort of like in the water getting ready to ski, and the floating camera crew member was there, and I could hear from his headphones that you were asking him to shoot my beard, and that sort of snapped me out of focus for a second, made me have a good laugh, and then got back in. Now I have a little bit of a personal question. So, you get out of cinematography school, and you created, in my opinion, some of the best short, like clip videos of water skiing that there are out there on the internet. Like on YouTube, I absolutely loved the artistic element of that, right? And we spoke about it, how, Thibaut was helping you out with those, or was never, shy of doing a shoot.
Exactly.
But it sounds that now it's almost a reversal. Like there it seemed like very artistic oriented, and let's see how we can make it technically. Now it's just, I have this artistic idea. It's a lot of technical stuff and calls and Amazon orders, and how has that shift been? Are you enjoying this?
Enjoying is a strong word.
Yeah, right.
I wish it was a bit more just one camera and let's have fun, but the fact that what we do is live just requires this. Now, do I enjoy it or not? I must somewhat enjoy it, because I don't hate what we do. I mean, I love the webcast. Don't get me wrong, I wish it would require, a bit less cable, and it requires a bit less gear. Sometimes, yes, I'm like, let's just stop this. Let's just do commercial. Let's get one camera. If we fry it, well, no big deal. We'll get another one,
Right.
It's also way less pressure. but we get the right balance. I mean, with John, we still shoot quite a bit of commercials during the winter, and obviously do the webcast during the summer. Do I enjoy it? I kind of enjoy it, learning the gear, I guess. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you gotta enjoy having gear. You gotta enjoy trying new gear. You gotta enjoy renting and testing gear. Gear is tremendous amount of maintenance. I mean, you gotta wrap it, you gotta set it up, you gotta clean it. It breaks, you gotta order, you gotta learn it. So yeah, I mean, it's the gear. As I said, it's really it's the crew on its own. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes they really have a soul, those cables and those Vito transmitters. They have their days.
Yeah, they just have temper, you know.
Exactly.
No, because it is an interesting shift, right? And I mean, from an outside viewer / inside look into how you guys work, because, you know, 3 to 5 days a year, I have the pleasure of having you at my place. To me, it seems like you enjoy it, but it's definitely something different from where you were, you know, just trying to make a buoy out of color explode while Thibaut was turning, you know, a powerful onside. It's a bit different.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So what are some of the things that you enjoy the most about doing webcasting?
I think that, I mean, at the end, what we enjoy the most is not wrapping the cables. It's not setting up. It's not filming. It's not switching. It's not pressing the button for the graphic. What we enjoy the most is to know the impact we're doing in the sport. And that's, I mean, at the end, that's the only reason why we do it. And that's the only reason, to be honest, why we keep doing it. If we wouldn't receive the 1,000 thank yous at the lake, we wouldn't do it. Even though I don't always act nice when everyone runs and says thank you, it was so great, and on my end nothing's working. Sometimes I'm a bit of an ass, this I gotta say, but I do enjoy it when I go to bed in the evening. So I mean, no, we keep going because we like what we do, and don't get me wrong, we like what we do, but mostly what keeps it going is that we know that if we go to the event, everyone will be able to watch it. I mean, hopefully, if everything goes normal, everyone will be able to watch it. Everyone's going to be enjoying how it should be. I mean, it's going to be enjoying the webcast like they should. Like, water ski is a great sport. A lot of people watch it. A lot of people like it. A lot of families want to see their son on the water. And I think that's the only reason why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's for the parents to be able to watch their kids skiing across the world at a pro event.
Yeah.
And make this, and hopefully, I mean, I hope that what we do helps also making the pros feel more like pros. You know what I mean? And not like a party of 10 guys. and I think I mean, I don't know if it's just on my end, but I think from the outside, our webcast actually look more professional now than before. Obviously, because we're better at it, but also because I think the skiers are actually much better at it. I remember we started doing dockside interview at the Malibu Open last year. So it's only been a year we've been doing dockside interview. And the skiers were we had Wade on the dock. So we had a good guy on the dock. And the skiers were not so thrilled about doing dockside interviews. And the interviews were kind of so-so because no one really knew. Wade didn't know what to ask. Skier didn't know what to say. Everything was awkward. And now it's almost like if the skier doesn't get interviewed, he's pissed off why I'm not getting interviewed.
Right.
And they look more professional. As soon as they're out of the water, they do the interview, whether they're pissed, not pissed, they ski well, they didn't ski well. And also to go back to why I enjoy it, it's slowly, at least in pro events now, obviously this week's going to run a bit different because it's a world championship. It cleans up also a bit the tournament. You know, now the tournaments are forced to be a bit on time. They're forced to run fast. They're forced to put, they're not forced, but they see the point to put banners. They see the point to do nice t-shirts for the official because, yeah, quite a lot of people are watching and they don't want to look amateur and they want to show what they got. So it's a bit, we do it because we know the impact we're going to have on the sport and also on the tournament. The goal when we started webcasting was to make webcast a standard in the sport. And I think now it is. Yeah. But if you don't have a webcast at your event, might as well not put it on.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, the comedian Bob Marley that we all know said that you guys are the most important people in water skiing right now. you know, and I think he's right. You know,
I
like
mean, there is a lot of important people. There's a lot of people. If they're not there, Waterski wouldn't exist. Us, we're pretty lucky that everything we do, everyone gets to see it. There's a lot of people, obviously, that work in the sport that what they do, you don't know about it, but it's thanks that they do it that we're still here. Us, we're lucky that what we do gets seen, but obviously it's 10 times more stressful because we're way more exposed.
But that brings an interesting, almost philosophical question, because yes, there's a lot of people that make the event happen, but is it really happening if nobody knows about it? And now the way to know about it is to watch it, right?
What the thing that this year, I mean, we notice more and more, and I mean, it shows we're getting a bit better, but it's actually almost a bit scary. Is we're shooting a bit of bullet in our foot because people are actually now used to very high standard webcast,
Right?
Which, I mean, if they would all see what's going on behind, it's not always easy to be able to put on the same quality of webcast compared to which sites we are. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're in sites middle of nowhere, there's a bit less internet. Sometimes one weekend I'm super short on crew compared to Swiss Pro, but the last weekend they watched was Swiss Pro, so they're like, well, we're expecting the same again.
Right.
So that's kind of the biggest challenge is now to actually keep the quality up,
Deliver.
you know, and obviously the budget, we all know kind of the Waterski budget. The budget is not always the same, so sometimes it's always a challenge, but sometimes even more challenging.
Yeah. Now, look, I'm sure the vast majority of the people who are listening to this right now have watched some of your webcasts, right? And obviously the most out there crew member that is always depicted is Tony, like talking, you know, announcing the whole event, interviewing, having a sidekick. Now there's occasionally the trailer cam of you and Alice, or you and someone else, you know, working in the trailer. But you have a lot of crew members that people might not necessarily see. Can you give an example of what some of these people might be doing? It's all right.
So we have obviously 90% of the cameras you see there, but they're somewhat behind it. It needs to be operated. So we have John, a good friend of mine. He usually does tower cam and kind of fixes problem. We have Trey, that's been around now for quite a lot of events. We also went to film school together. He's kind of the dockside guy. He'll do the camera on dockside. And we somewhat try to keep the same guys at the same position because they get better at it and they start understanding more what I like and what I don't like and kind of the shots I want. And then we have Adam that's been helping us since last year. Does a great job. He does the floating cam. Yeah. He's got a tough one because he's carrying this camera all day, every day, and it's a heavy rig. And he needs to get personal into the skier's face when it's good and also when it's bad. Sometimes he comes back and he almost wants to kill me because he's like, why you told me to get closer? He was pissed off and I don't want to go. So we have Alice running the graphics and the replays. We have Kelvin running replays. We have Tony talking. We have Wade doing the dockside interviews. We have people kind of. We have Connor that's been also helping for quite a lot of events. Does the boat. Ricky does the boat also. So yeah, it's a bit of a circus moving from places to places. Everyone helps setting up the lake. Everyone helps wrapping the lake. These are obviously the two kind of biggest one, and as everyone knows, Tony talks.
Yeah. Look, obviously you have webcasted a lot of events since the last time we spoke. Any sort of like little inside view that you want to give us? Some story that happened for the good or for the funny? Any event that you can think of? I mean, I know you webcasted a lot.
So on a bad note, because that's the first one that kind of pops into my head. Most sad I was, and a bit the hardest hit we kind of took this year was at the US National, because obviously US National is the most challenging event for us of the whole year. It's 7 days of tournament. It's running on 2 lakes at the same time. So you can imagine the size of the crew. I believe we're 14 this year. There's 2 trick boats. Like, it's a real challenge. And the whole week went great. Setup went great. The whole week was great. The internet was great. Everything was perfect. And on before the last day, on day 6, the tournament was day 7. On day 6, they organized this year a tournament called US Open, which is a pro event happening at the end of the regular day of US National. They had prelims during the day of US Nationals, and then at the end they had US Open at night. A lot of people, was super well organized, and we did a slalom final on one lake, which was still during the day. Everything went great. We went to do the trick final on the other lake. Everything went great, and then we went to do the jump final at night. And we knew already beforehand that the US Open was going to be quite a bit of challenge, because it's day 6, and that's when kind of the best event is happening. So everyone now needs to be double sharp when we're completely dead, and it's like
right.
Day 6 of tournament, day 10 in Chicago. So, and everyone was on point. We were all coffeeed out, Red Bulled out. We were doing good. And 2 skiers before the end, when Dorian Llewellyn left the dock and jumped, there was Dorian and Freddy Krueger. Obviously, Freddy Krueger was the favorite. It's kind of, that's from where he's from, the Midwest region. So a lot of people were cheering for him and stuff. And we lost internet on Dorian's when Dorian basically went out. So the 2 last skiers of the pro event, after 6 days of US National and kind of all the work leading up to that, was kind of a hard hit. What I remember, I was alone in the trailer. It was like 11 p.m. There were, I gotta say, like a lot of people outside. And from where we were, the cable was 2,000 feet running into Jeff Surday's dad's house, so Roy Surday's house. And I mean, 2 skiers before the end, there was no way to pinpoint from where was the break of internet. Right. Why did we lose it? I mean, at the moment we lost it, I ran out to kind of go and check out everything that was on our end, the converters, this, that. When I saw nothing was there, I mean, there were hundreds of people in between us and the house, 2 skiers before the end. And that is literally the moment. We don't have many, but that was the time I just wanted to lock myself in the trailer and cry. It was so sad. That was a bit. That's a bit what's frustrating in the webcast is I mean, yeah, it's very, very harsh. It's a bit like, yeah, it's like sport. You get rewarded 1% of what you should get rewarded. You know, yeah. Every time you're like, well, I hope it's gonna go through. Well, you're pretty much sure it's not gonna go through.
Yeah.
So that was a bit sad, because yes, was a big event. We had a lot of people watching. I think we had like 900 people watching, building up kind of to see Freddy Krueger hit the ramp, and they couldn't see it. Luckily, we recorded it and we uploaded it the next day. But that was one of the sad thing. Now on other notes, we have every time tremendous amount of jokes and fun. It's hard to tell a story, but usually in the most ridiculous time, and like 4:30 a.m. you're under the ramp fixing something, and it's like every time we're like, why do we do this?
Right. The passion for the sport, promotion of the sport, you know.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, for those people that know you, obviously they know that, and they know that about your family. But for those that don't know you personally, the core thing is like you are super passionate about the sport. So do you ever get moments where like you're webcasting something, or you're putting a graphic, or you're changing a camera, and there's like a crazy high level ski thing going on that kind of distracts you or excites you? Or?
No, actually, the skiing is really what gets us in the mood. And this I noticed, that the higher the level of skiing is, and the more we get into the final and stuff, if you pay attention, usually the better the webcast is going to look, because it's like
you're locked in.
It's the skier's final, but it's also my final, you know, and right. you're really, really locked in. And to answer your question, that's the hardest, is to not get distracted by the skiing. And that's what I shout out the whole crew all day, every day, including Alice that's in the trailer, and mostly Alice that's in the trailer, is to not get distracted by the skiing. Because usually the craziest thing that happen, that's when it requires the most work for us. For example, in what, a week from now, we're going to crown a world champ. And when that world champ happens, there needs to have 5 graphics that follow that world champ with the right names, the right podiums, the right leaderboards, the right score. So when something happens, that's when everyone's got to not sit and say, wow, and watch the replay. That's like when we got to get to work. When there's a jump crash, you got to roll replay. You got to look at all your camera and make sure you get replay from the right shot. So that's what's almost hardest I see everyone ski and I see no one ski, because when they ski is when I have time to do my other clicks and get everything ready for when they're not skiing, basically. So that's a bit the thing that's funny is that we don't really watch, and that's why I rewatch most of my webcasts. The day, never really during the events because we're so busy, we get to bed late, we just take care of running through. But 3 days after, I watch just to actually watch the skiing, see what happened.
See, I thought you were watching it just to, oh, we can improve this and that. No, you're watching the actual tournament.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, I mean, yes, definitely. Obviously, there's moments that it's so. It's so nice. There's moments so nice to know that it's TWBC that recorded it and managed to show it to everyone, that to have the emotions and yeah. I mean, we had at the Malibu Open, we had Regina Jake was in the final. She came at the announcer desk and she started chit chatting with Tony, and Freddie Winter was at the announcer desk at that time. And she started crying because she was so emotional that she managed to get back so quickly with her knee and stuff.
Remember? And
I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool to have a 4 times world champion realize that she's competitive again in front of your cameras, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I bet. I bet.
So that's kind of what's cool. And yeah, I mean, leading up to Worlds, it's gonna be. I believe it's gonna be one of the most challenging events we ever gonna have. Funny enough, everyone's gonna say, well, it's right here, it's at Swiss, it's at the end of the season. I mean, it's next to Swiss, it's at the end of the season. It should be easy. Obviously, we don't have to travel far, don't get me wrong, that's way easier. If we are missing a cable, well, we drive 20 minutes back to the house and we get it. But to know that it's at the end of the season means that also everyone's a bit more tired.
Right.
Everyone's a bit less motivated. Now, on my end, motivation is not really hard to find, knowing that it's a Worlds and all that, but it's also going to be the longest Worlds that really ever happened, I believe. It's going to be 6 days of skiing. There's about 200 participants, so it's going to be a very, very, very long webcast, and obviously the more we're going to get towards the end, the more important it's going to be. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, and obviously it's the World, so we want to webcast it really as good as possible. So am I nervous? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of moving parts? Absolutely. They're running on 2 lakes, luckily not at the same time, hopefully not at the same time. And we have really, I mean, as big of a crew as we can get, and we're getting ready as early as possible as we can get, but you never really know what's going to happen until you really, I mean, you got to hope for the best. That there is so many, we have a new crew member that helped us out, and today was the first day of setup, and he was blown away by the amount of stuff there was to set up. And there he was blown away by, we set up the internet cable. The internet cable at Jack is 300 meters long, about 1,000 feet long, because it's an unconventional setup to get internet at Jack. That needed to be hanged in the trees for the RVs that need to park, under the practice lake, under the tournament lake, to then exit in the trailer. So, I mean, 300 meters of cable that needs to stay safe and all that for our internet is quite sketchy. And as we're pulling it, I'm like, you see, all the setup we've been doing, and all those cases, and all this money, and all the screw is holding on that one cable to not break. And he looked at me, he's like, why don't we pull a second one? One cable's already complicated enough.
Well, I was about to say the same thing. Put a second one, you know.
You go set it up.
No. But listen, yes, Pirate Crew, long event, but also I know the event that you've always wanted to broadcast. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. We haven't webcasted yet. After 1 minute of Worlds on Tuesday, you kind of say congrats.
Well, I mean, you know, I still think it's great.
So far, it's happening. Yeah,
that it's happening. That you've been chosen. That you're going to webcast it. You know, and I think it's part of what you correctly stated before, namely that you are helping every single tournament that you broadcast. I really think so. You might not have said it in those words, but I'm going to say it in those words.
Thank you.
So, you know, like I'm obviously here. I'm going to be at the Worlds as a skier, as a participant, as a spectator. And I'm obviously super looking forward to you being there and broadcast it. Hopefully my dad is not going to get a heart attack because apparently semifinals at Malibu, Mom told me he was running around the house with a 7-inch TV showing TWBC and screaming at me.
We have a bit the same debate in the house. I mean, people don't know if it's more stressful at the lake or behind the TV. So that's debating every day. Should he go watch? Should he watch the webcast? But watching the webcast is also stressful. Should he not watch anything?
Yeah, exactly. No. Watch. So for people that are going to be watching the World's webcast, where can they find it? How can they watch it?
So you're going to go on YouTube. You're going to go the World. So we're going to actually we're gonna stream it, if we may say, on the IWWF channel, but also on our channel. So you go on YouTube and you type in Water Ski Broadcasting Company, and you're gonna find the link on our channel. Or you go on YouTube and you type IWWF for International Water Ski and Wakeboard Federation, and you're gonna find the link also there.
Right.
Same as wherever you go, and then you can go on our website waterskibroadcasting.com. And there's always the link, and also you see the calendar of all the tournaments we're going to be webcasting, because we have Worlds, but 10 days after Worlds, we have the Mastercraft Pro, which is a pro event in Polk City that happened last year for the first time. And then for the first time, Miami Pro, tournament down in Miami, mid-November. It's going to be a first edition, and it's going to be wrapping up the season and the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and then vacation, right?
And then holidays, and then try to find some things for next year.
Right. Well, and then obviously I know you have social media as well.
Yes.
By the way, Skier of the Day, which I think you implemented this year or last year also?
We had it last year, I believe, already. Yeah.
What a cool thing. You know, what a way to get the people participating.
Skier of the Day and audience prize are the two coolest things I think we got. I think the four coolest thing we ever did as a webcast company is the rope tension. The second one, everyone makes fun of it, but I love it, is my weather station. You get to know the live wind and air temperature. It makes it look like we're F1, you know.
Yeah, no, but also I would say maybe, I don't know if
and then you got the iPad at the dock.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I got the iPad at the dock. So as
the
a
viewers,
skier,
they don't know that. So explain as a skier.
Yeah. So as a skier, you show up on the dock and there's a little iPad that gives you welcome to the X tournament. This is your current air temperature, your wind direction and strength, and the weather
the leading score.
And the leading score. That's right.
So you can you know the cut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing about it was I saw obviously the weather station at San Gervasio Pro-Am, and then I saw it again in Malibu Open. And you have those little like cups things that like obviously have to spin to determine the wind. There was a moment or two at Malibu Open where they were just flying, you know, like rotating as fast as possible. All right, so weather station, rope tension,
weather station, and then audience prize and skier of the day. The audience prize, I think that's super cool because, I mean, you get to watch the webcast, and if you get the right podium, you get a free ski, you know what I mean? I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool. Thanks to D3 and Connolly. They're supporting me in that. And then the skier of the day, sponsored by 2U. Everyone gets to go vote. And we catch the cheater. We catch the cheater because the vote's open for everyone, but you got some, they insist on voting for the same guy at 300 times. So that's where Matteo's sister actually goes through the Excels and really makes sure that the votes are legit.
But so, like, again, I'm watching the webcast. How do I vote for audience prize? How do I vote for skier of the day?
So it works. So during the event, you can play the audience prize until the final. Until the final. So for example, if we take Worlds, during prelims, it's gonna be open, so everyone can go and play during prelims. And then
on your website?
On my website, so on waterskibroadcasting.com, you go on the website, you go play, you go audience prize, you enter your podium. And the day of final, when when the first final is going to start, actually, we're going to run it in slalom. So when open women slalom final is going to start, that's when it closes. Because obviously then it becomes too easy to know what's going to be the podium.
Right.
So you know who made it to final. And then once you know what's the final, then we close. And then you got to hope for the best. And then the skier of the day, we open it the last day of the event. And then you have the whole day until the last skier on the water. Basically, we leave it open until 10 minutes after the last skier on the water.
And so you choose the skier of the day according to your liking, I guess.
According to your liking. If you want to vote for your son because you like your son, you vote for your son. Or if you want to vote for, you believe the guy that deserves it the most. Usually we always had, how can I say, a fair skier of the day. Every time the skier of the day, for me, was the skier of the day. For example, Malibu Open, it was hard to take it away from Adam Caldwell to be the skier of the day, you know. Usually the skier of the day is the right one. One of the most memorable skier of the day was Charlie Ross at Swiss Pro, first time he ran 39.
Yeah.
I was actually, when I got the Excel back, I'm like, I really hope Charlie Ross is the skier of the day.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, Nicolas in San Gervasio.
In San Gervasio, exactly.
Oh, it's awesome.
Skier of the day is nice. I'm trying to find stuff for the audience to be able to interact more and more with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been trying to get better at it. It's a bit hard because there's so much stuff. But for example, with the YouTube comments, you know, there's quite a lot of YouTube comments coming in. Trying to be able to answer them as fast as possible. If people have a question, to be able to have kind of the answer by us. This is actually something that Tony tries to take care of as he kind of talks. He's got it on his iPad because us in Detroit, I mean, there's so much stuff to take care of.
Yeah.
To be able to have the audience interacting a bit with us, either by YouTube comments or by voting for Skier of the Day or by audience prize, that they feel that they're part of it because they are part of it.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, our growth is only a result of the amount of people that watch our webcasts. You know what I mean? Skier is judged by the amount of booty he runs, and we're judged by the amount of people that watch our webcast.
Yep. Well, and judging by the numbers, I would say you're being judged fairly and positively.
Yeah, no, we had a tremendous increase in viewership. Kind of funny enough, the thing that kind of kicked off the viewership for us was COVID. Last year, people kind of were home and they wanted to watch skiing because not a lot of skiing happened. And we had luckily tournaments happening in Florida, and by kind of luck, we got to webcast them, and it went up and kind of it stayed up, and we have even more and more viewers this year. It's very nice to be able to kind of have a season this year, you know, to kind of 10 events in a row. You can grow your fan base, grow the viewers, and really have a lot of views.
Yeah.
Month of August was the most views we ever got on our YouTube channel. We had about 300,000 views watching the whole month of August.
Wow.
Some content on our YouTube channel.
That's pretty awesome.
That was nice. We're having actually all 3 Worlds Championships that are happening this year. We had the under 17 Worlds at Corey, the under 21 at Corey's, and the Open at Jack. And luckily enough, all 3 in Florida.
Yeah, luckily.
Didn't have to go to Malaysia or to France or to Abu Dhabi.
Right.
Nice.
Because you do some of those as well.
Yeah, we do. And we're not travel friendly. I don't mind boarding plane, but boarding plane with all this, it's a little bit heavy.
Challenging.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I'm so stoked we got to do this.
Thanks a lot.
I couldn't think of a better and more meaningful episode to sort of, you know, kick off the podcast again after a few months off. thank you for sitting down with me. Anyone you want to thank? I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
your crew.
Everyone that helps us. That helps us produce the webcast we produce, or watches the webcast we produce. Thanks to the whole crew, and thanks to everyone watching.
Thank you, Vino.